Relax, it's just a joke. Those were the last words anyone heard before the splash silenced the music. A scream cut through the air, followed by the sharp crack of a champagne glass hitting the floor. The rooftop lights shimmered on the surface of the pool, and for a heartbeat, no one moved. Then the crowd gasped as Amara Turner, the wife of the city's most celebrated black CEO, pulled herself out of the water, drenched, silent, and staring straight at the man who just shoved her. The man was Graham Lockwood, billionaire investor, media darling, and tonight's host. His diamond cufflinks glimmered as he laughed into the awkward silence. "What? Don't tell me she can't take a little fun," he said, lifting his glass as though he hadn't just humiliated someone in front of half the city's elite. A few guests forced uneasy laughter. Cameras flashed. Someone whispered, "Was that an accident?" But the smirk on Lockwood's face gave the answer before anyone could ask again. Caleb Turner rushed forward, his tailored suit splashed with water as he helped his wife up. "You're okay," he said softly, but his voice trembled with anger he couldn't afford to show. His company, Turner Tech, had just signed a billion-dollar partnership with Lockwood's firm. Tonight was supposed to be a celebration. Not this. Amara stood still, her wet gown clinging to her skin, her hair dripping against her shoulders. Yet her posture never broke, calm, upright, almost regal. The humiliation in the air was thick, but her silence cut deeper than any words could. She didn't flinch, didn't cry. She just looked at him, a look that froze even the laughter. Lockwood raised an eyebrow. "Come on, Caleb," he mocked. "Don't get emotional. I was just teasing your wife. She's got spirit. I like that." He turned to the crowd. "You all saw it, right? Just a bit of fun." A few nervous chuckles rippled through the room. The string quartet in the corner tried to resume playing, but their notes trembled. Caleb clenched his jaw. "You owe her an apology," he said quietly. Lockwood stepped closer, the scent of expensive cologne filling the tense space between them. "Apology? For what? Proving that she can swim?" His friends snickered. "Lighten up, Turner. If you want to make it in this world, you've got to stop taking everything so personally." That was the moment Amara finally spoke. Her voice was calm, low, but every syllable struck like glass. "Power makes some men forget that dignity isn't optional." The crowd went still. Lockwood's smile twitched, just for a second. "Oh," he said, feigning amusement. "She's got a mouth on her, too. You trained her well, Caleb." Caleb stepped forward, but Amara's hand on his arm stopped him. She looked back at Lockwood and said, "Careful, Mr. Lockwood. The higher you build your empire, the deeper your fall." For a moment, no one breathed. Then Lockwood burst out laughing, loud and dismissive. "Fall! My dear, people like me don't fall." He raised his glass again. "To success," he said, and the crowd, unsure what else to do, echoed weakly. "To success." But the sparkle had vanished from the night. Amara turned away, the trail of water from her gown glistening on the marble floor as she walked toward the exit. Caleb followed, shoulders tense, silent. Behind them, whispers erupted. "Did you record that?" She handled it better than he did. "Was that on purpose?" Lockwood leaned back against the bar, smug and untouchable. "You can't buy class," he murmured. Eyes on the door Amara had just walked through. What he didn't know, what no one in that glittering room realized, was that he had just pushed the wrong woman, because Amara Turner wasn't just the CEO's wife. She was the mind behind the technology that built his fortune. The quiet architect whose name had been erased from her own invention years before. And now, standing on the edge of humiliation, she had found something stronger than pride, a reason. Outside, the city skyline burned gold against the night. Amara stood by the car, water dripping from her gown, eyes cold, focused. Caleb tried to speak, but she simply said, "Let him laugh tonight. Tomorrow he won't." The wind picked up, carrying the faint echo of clinking glasses and hollow laughter from the rooftop above, the sound of a man who still thought he had won. But somewhere inside her, a quiet promise had already taken shape. She wasn't going to cry. She wasn't going to forget. And she definitely wasn't going to forgive, because this wasn't the end of a party. It was the beginning of a reckoning. Pull the plug. That was all Caleb Turner said before hanging up the phone, his voice calm but deadly quiet. Less than 12 hours had passed since the gala. The video of Graham Lockwood shoving Amara into the pool had already gone viral, replayed across every social feed in the country. Millions watched in disbelief as the billionaire laughed while Amara stood drenched in humiliation. The headlines were merciless. Power play or hate crime. Lockwood's gala scandal sparks outrage. Inside Turner Tech's headquarters, the atmosphere was electric and tense. Staff whispered in corners, screens flashed with breaking news updates, and the PR team moved like soldiers in a crisis war room. Caleb sat at the head of the table, face unreadable, while Amara stood beside him, poised and composed. "Do you really want to do this?" asked Marcus, Turner Tech's legal counsel. "We're talking about $1 billion partnership. You tear that contract apart, you're walking away from global expansion." Caleb didn't look up from the documents. "We built this company from nothing. I won't sell our soul for profit." Amara placed her hand on the table. "This isn't just business, Marcus. It's respect. You can't partner with a man who sees people as entertainment." Marcus hesitated. "But the board will follow my lead," Caleb interrupted sharply. "If they won't, I'll replace them." He signed the termination papers without another word. Outside, the city skyline glowed with early morning light, but inside, something colder brewed. Within hours, news broke. Turner Tech officially withdrew from the Lockwood merger. The financial world went into chaos. Stock analysts called it career suicide. Reporters camped outside Turner Tech's gates. Meanwhile, Graham Lockwood sat in his penthouse suite, staring at his phone as notification after notification exploded across his screen. His PR agent's voice cracked through the speaker. "Graham, it's everywhere. They're calling it an act of racial humiliation. Sponsors are pulling out. Investors are panicking." Lockwood smirked, though his jaw tightened. "Let them panic. It'll blow over. It always does." But it didn't. By noon, 3 major investors had backed out of his luxury development project. His company's stock dropped 6% in an hour. And the clip, that humiliating, smug clip of him saying just a bit of fun, had become the internet's new symbol of power and arrogance gone too far. Then came the blow he didn't see coming. His assistant rushed in, pale. "Sir, Turner Tech's statement just went public." Lockwood grabbed the tablet. The statement read, "Turner Tech stands for innovation, equality, and integrity. No partnership is worth compromising human dignity. Effective immediately, all agreements with Lockwood Global are terminated." He read it twice, the words sinking in like poison. "Who approved this?" he demanded. "Caleb did, personally, and Amara co-signed it." Lockwood's hand tightened around his glass. "She's behind this," he said, his voice low. "That woman. She's becoming a public hero," the assistant whispered. "People are calling her the woman who stood still." Lockwood turned to the window, his reflection cold and distant against the glass. "Then it's war." Back at Turner Tech, Amara watched the live coverage with quiet resolve. "He'll come for us," she said softly. Caleb looked at her. Let him. He's already lost the one thing he can't buy back, credibility. But even as he said it, his phone buzzed with a message. A private number. 3 words appeared on the screen. "You'll regret this." Caleb's expression darkened. He slipped the phone face down on the table and turned to Amara. "The deal may be dead," he said. "But this isn't over." Outside, thunder rolled over the city skyline, though the forecast had promised clear skies. It wasn't rain that was coming. It was a storm. "You really think he'll stop at words?" Amara's voice broke the silence of their penthouse office, steady but heavy with warning. The skyline glittered behind her, yet the room felt dim. Caleb stood by the window, still holding the phone that had delivered Lockwood's threat hours earlier. "No," he said quietly. "Men like him never stop at words." A faint vibration filled the room. Another notification. Caleb glanced down. His email inbox was flooded with alerts. Canceled contracts, delayed shipments, sudden technical issues from suppliers. Lockwood's reach was already spreading. "He's choking us," Caleb muttered. Piece by piece. Amara moved closer. Then we fight smarter. She turned on her tablet and pulled up an old encrypted file, one she hadn't opened in years. The screen flickered to life, revealing a folder labeled Project Origin. Caleb frowned. What is that? Her eyes didn't leave the screen. Proof. She tapped open a document filled with diagrams and code, the early prototype of Turner Tech's first AI engine, the one that launched their empire. But next to Amara's initials, another name appeared in faded text, Lockwood Systems. Caleb's breath caught. You worked with him? Before you, she admitted softly. Before Turner Tech even existed. He promised partnership. But when the patent went public, my name disappeared. Her voice wavered for the first time, anger simmering beneath the calm. He stole my idea, Caleb, and I let it go because back then I thought revenge was beneath me. But now, she turned the screen toward him. Now it's justice. Caleb's jaw tightened. The realization hit like ice. If the world knew he built his empire on stolen work, they'd burn him alive, Amara finished. For a moment, silence hung between them, not of fear, but of understanding. Then a sudden knock shattered the quiet. Their assistant Layla stepped in, holding a trembling stack of papers. You need to see this, she said. On top was a headline from the Financial Herald. Anonymous sources question Turner Tech's integrity. Data theft allegations surface. Caleb's voice hardened. He's trying to flip the story, Amara exhaled slowly. He's faster than I thought. Layla hesitated. There's more. Reporters are outside, and someone's leaking internal documents. Caleb slammed his fist against the desk. He's coming after our name. Amara looked up at him, her tone calm but sharp as steel. Then we stop reacting. It's time we start playing offense. She opened another folder, this one marked confidential. Hidden recordings, emails, bank transfers, all traces of Lockwood's years of corruption buried under corporate gloss. He thinks he owns the story, she said. Let's remind him who wrote it first. But even as she spoke, the cost of what they were about to do lingered in the air. One wrong move, and they wouldn't just lose a company. They'd lose everything. Caleb studied her face, searching for hesitation. There was none. Only the same quiet fire she'd carried since the night of the gala. Are you sure about this? He asked. Amara met his eyes. I was sure the moment he pushed me into that pool. Outside. Thunder rolled again, distant but growing closer. Meanwhile, in a dark office across the city, Graham Lockwood poured himself a drink and watched the chaos unfold on his monitors. Turner Tech's press team scrambling, the market in freefall, social media ablaze. A slow smile crept across his face. Let's see how long their morals last, he muttered. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number read, They're digging into Project Origin. Lockwood's expression shifted, a flicker of unease crossing his smug confidence. Impossible, he whispered. That file was deleted, but deep down he knew. Nothing digital ever truly vanished. Back in Turner Tech's office, Amara closed the laptop and looked out over the storm-lit skyline. He thinks this is just business, she said quietly. He has no idea what he started. Caleb stepped beside her, his reflection merging with hers in the glass. Then let's finish what he began. She nodded once, the faintest hint of a smile tugging at her lips. Let's remind him who the real architect is. The rain finally broke, pounding against the windows like the world itself was holding its breath. Somewhere in that sound, in the rhythm of thunder and vengeance, something had shifted. The game was no longer about power. It was about truth. And this time the story would be told by the woman he tried to erase. Smile for the camera, Caleb, Graham Lockwood said, flashing his diamond watch toward the press lights. Let's show the world that Turner Tech and Lockwood Systems still play nice. The cameras clicked like gunfire. Reporters leaned forward, eager to capture every smirk, every handshake. But under the blinding lights, Caleb's jaw was tight. Amara stood behind him, dressed in black, calm as stone. The same woman Lockwood had once humiliated in front of half the city. Now she was here, silent but unshaken, her eyes locked on him like a storm waiting to break. "Funny," Caleb said, his voice low but clear enough for the microphones to catch. "You canceled our billion-dollar deal after a pool party, yet now you want to stand beside me?" Lockwood's grin didn't falter. "Business is about optics, my friend. The market forgives faster than people." He turned slightly, angling himself for the cameras. "We're just giving them a show." Amara's voice cut through the air, steady and cold. "Then let's make it unforgettable." The room fell still. Reporters turned, sensing the shift. Even Lockwood's smirk wavered for a fraction of a second before returning. "Ah," he said, raising his glass, "the lady of the hour. I'm glad you could make it. Still dry, I see." The crowd chuckled, awkward, forced laughter trying to fill the tension. Amara didn't move. Her gaze was razor-sharp. "Still standing," she replied. "Which is more than I can say for your company's ethics." Lockwood's smile froze. The cameras loved it. Flashes erupted. Whispers rippled across the press pit. Someone whispered, "Did she just say that?" Caleb stepped forward, sensing the danger. "Amara." But she lifted a hand slightly, not in defiance, but in quiet control. The gesture was small, yet it silenced him. Lockwood leaned in, voice dripping with false charm. "You're bold, I'll give you that. But let's not forget whose stage this is." She tilted her head slightly. "Funny, I built your stage once, back when you still needed my algorithms to stand on it." The audience gasped. The words hit like a gunshot. The flash of cameras grew frantic. Lockwood blinked, his confident mask cracking under the heat of exposure. "Careful with your stories," he said, his tone sharpening. "You wouldn't want to defame a partner." "Partner?" Amara's tone was ice. "You erased my name from our project, stole my work, lied to investors, and now you stand here pretending to be the visionary? You're just a thief in a tuxedo." The air thickened. Every whisper stopped. The only sound was the hum of cameras recording history in real time. Lockwood's eyes darted toward the crowd, the board members, investors, journalists, all watching. His empire was built on control, on fear. But tonight, control was slipping through his fingers. He forced a laugh, trying to regain ground. "Ah, I see what this is. A little moral theater. Let's not bore our audience with old tales, shall we?" But Amara took a slow step forward, her expression calm, her voice steady. "You're right. Let's give them something new." She turned toward the crowd, her tone shifting from confrontation to clarity, the voice of a woman who had been silent too long. 2 years ago, this man used my prototype to launch Lockwood Systems' core AI, the same technology he called revolutionary. What he never said was that it wasn't his." The crowd erupted in murmurs. Phones lifted. Live streams began. Someone whispered, "Is she serious?" Lockwood's face turned pale. "You can't prove—" "Oh, but I can," she interrupted, her calm unshaken. "I kept every email, every timestamp, every erased credit line in your code." Caleb pulled up his phone, connecting it to the projector behind them. The massive screen lit up with Lockwood's old correspondence, his signature on a file labeled Project Origin. Revision 1. The date predated Lockwood Systems by 6 months. The room exploded with flashes and shouts. Reporters swarmed forward, demanding comment. Lockwood's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Amara stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper, but loud enough for every mic to catch. "You pushed me once to silence me, but this time, you'll fall because I spoke." The moment stretched, a single breath between past and reckoning. Lockwood's champagne glass slipped from his hand and shattered on the marble floor. The headlines were already writing themselves, and as the lights from 100 cameras bathed her in gold, Amara stood taller, her reflection in the shattered glass beneath him, a woman reborn from humiliation into power. Lockwood's eyes flicked toward her one last time, the arrogance gone, replaced by something colder, fear. But Amara only turned to Caleb and said softly, "He built his empire on my silence. Now let's see how loud the truth can be." The room roared. Half chaos, half justice. Outside, the world waited. And this time, it wasn't Lockwood's stage anymore. "Play the file." Amara's voice was low, calm and dangerous, the kind of calm that made even the boldest man hesitate. Caleb didn't ask twice. With one tap, the massive screen behind them came alive, filling the conference hall with the flicker of recorded truth. The first image appeared, a video call time-stamped 3 years ago. Graham Lockwood sat in his glass office, leaning back in his chair, his voice dripping arrogance. Delete her name from the prototype. If she wants credit, she can get it in the press release, not the patent. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Cameras flashed. The sound of frantic typing filled the silence as reporters rushed to capture every word. Lockwood's face turned ashen. "That's fake," he snapped. "Deep fake. Anyone could—" Amara cut him off sharply. "Then explain the bank transfers." Another file appeared. Transaction logs, dates, amounts, a trail leading from Lockwood's private accounts to offshore holdings, the same accounts used to fund his research grants. Caleb stepped forward, his tone measured but hard. "These are tied to stolen code acquisitions. Every project Turner Tech ever filed a complaint about mysteriously disappeared into Lockwood's systems." Lockwood's composure cracked. "You think anyone will believe this?" "They already do," Amara said. "The live stream hit 2 million viewers 10 minutes ago." Whispers turned into a roar. People stood recording, pointing, murmuring in disbelief. Board members exchanged panicked glances. The empire Lockwood built on silence was crumbling, and the world was watching every brick fall. He slammed his fist on the podium, desperate to reclaim control. "You're finished, both of you! You signed non-disclosure agreements." Amara's lips curved into a small, knowing smile. "Actually, Graham, you voided them the night you pushed me into that pool." The crowd gasped again, the memory of that scandal still fresh. The image of his cruelty had gone viral, and now it was being rewritten as the moment his downfall began. Caleb leaned in, voice quiet but cutting. "You didn't just shove a woman into a pool. You shoved your career into it, too." Lockwood turned toward the cameras, stammering. "This is all lies. I built this industry. You people wouldn't have jobs without me." But no one listened. The crowd had turned, the reporters now aiming questions like weapons. "Did you steal the code, Mr. Lockwood? Is this the original Project Origin? Will there be criminal charges?" He looked around, realizing there was no escape. His allies, the same board members who once praised his genius, were stepping back, avoiding his eyes. One by one, they distanced themselves, the way people do when a ship starts to sink. Amara took a step closer, her voice softer now, but no less powerful. "You thought silence protected you, but silence only works when no one's watching." Lockwood's breathing quickened. He tried to speak, but no words came. The weight of exposure pressed down harder than any punishment could. Then, Amara looked directly into the nearest camera lens. Her tone shifted, not for him, but for everyone listening. For years, people like him took credit for ideas they never created, for voices they silenced. But those days are ending. Black voices built this industry, and now they're finally being heard. The room erupted in applause, not loud or chaotic, but steady, unified, like justice itself was clapping back. Lockwood stumbled backward, pale and defeated. As security quietly approached the stage, Amara didn't look at him again. She turned toward Caleb, who nodded once, pride flickering in his eyes. "Send the files to the authorities," she said. "Already done." As they walked off stage, the noise behind them grew. Reporters shouting, cameras flashing, investors calling. But Amara didn't look back. She didn't need to. The proof had spoken for her, and somewhere deep inside she knew. This wasn't revenge. It was restoration. Graham Lockwood has been arrested. The news anchor's voice echoed through every screen in the city. Boardrooms, coffee shops, living rooms. The empire that once ruled tech had collapsed overnight. Lockwood's face, the face that used to symbolize success, now stared blankly from a mugshot, stripped of pride, stripped of power. Amara stood in the same room where it had all begun, Turner Tech's board conference hall. Only now the air felt lighter. Reporters weren't there to mock. They were there to listen. Investors weren't skeptical. They were hopeful. And for the first time in years, her name was spoken with respect. Caleb entered quietly, holding 2 cups of coffee. "You really did it," he said. "You brought down a billionaire." Amara smiled faintly, her eyes still fixed on the television. "No," she said softly. "I just reminded the world what truth sounds like." He handed her a cup. "You know, the media's calling you the woman who rewired the system." She laughed lightly. "They love their headlines." Her smile faded a little. "But I didn't do this for headlines. I did it so no one else has to fight this hard to be heard." Outside, crowds gathered, employees, activists, students, holding signs that read, "Justice for innovators and black voices build the future." Cameras panned over their faces, people chanting her name, not as a celebrity, but as a symbol. Caleb turned toward the glass wall, watching the movement spread through the city. "It's bigger than us now," he said quietly. Amara nodded. "Good. It should be." A silence fell between them, peaceful this time. The kind of silence that comes after a storm. Then Caleb broke it with a half smile. "So what now? You could run for office, start a foundation maybe?" She shook her head gently. "No, I just want to build again." Not from anger this time, but from purpose. He looked at her, admiration clear in his eyes. "Whatever you build next, I'm in." A notification chimed from her phone. It was an email. The same news outlet that once refused to cover her story now wanted an exclusive interview. The subject line read, "From silence to strength, the woman who changed tech." Amara set the phone down without opening it. "They can wait," she said. "For once, I don't need to explain myself." The door opened behind them. Layla, their assistant, peeked in, smiling. "There's someone here to see you," she said. A tall man stepped forward. Senator Raines, the same official who once ignored her whistleblower report. He extended his hand, eyes humble now. "Mrs. Turner," he said, "on behalf of the committee, I owe you an apology and a thank you. Your evidence didn't just take down Lockwood. It's changing policy." Amara took his hand slowly. "Make sure it changes lives, too." He nodded. "That's the plan." As he left, Amara looked at Caleb. "Funny how truth travels," she murmured. "Sometimes it crawls," Caleb said. "But it never dies," she smiled. "Exactly." Outside, the crowd erupted again, chanting her name as the sun began to rise over the city. The same city that once looked away now watched her with awe. She walked toward the window, light spilling across her face. "He fell because he built on lies," she said softly. "We'll rise because we build on truth." The camera would have pulled back there, her silhouette against the morning sky, the skyline glittering with a new kind of hope. The world had finally shifted, and in that silence, that perfect, powerful silence, a single truth echoed louder than ever. Black voices don't just survive. They rebuild the world.